She was supposed to walk down the aisle, until a car crash stole the dream just weeks before her wedding. He was just a stranger with a tool belt and a quiet grief of his own. When he saw her crying on her front steps, he didn't ask questions. He just started building. He thought he was fixing a ramp. He didn't know he was building a way back to hope for both of them. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Where in the world are you watching from? This is Hope Stories, and you won't believe what happens next. The sun was too bright for a morning like this. It hit the pavement in sharp streaks, turning the cracked concrete into something that shimmered like heat, wasn't already clawing at every inch of her. Maya sat at the edge of her driveway, legs folded in the chair like they didn't belong to her anymore. She hadn't cried when the doctor said incomplete spinal cord injury. She hadn't cried when her dance company sent flowers, but not a contract renewal. She hadn't even cried when her wedding planner offered to pause everything until things stabilized. But now, with a crumpled envelope in one hand, and silence filling the house behind her like it had a right to, she cried. Not loud, not theatrical, just the slow, hollow kind, the kind that crept down your face like it had waited long enough to be seen. Across the street, a rusted pickup truck rumbled into park beside a weathered mailbox. The man who stepped out wasn't much to look at, baseball cap pulled low, shirt clinging with sweat, one boot scuffed near the toe like it had lost an argument with a nail gun. He walked around to the bed of the truck, lifted a cardboard box with the logo of a local pantry, and moved toward the house next door. He wasn't looking for her. That much was clear. But he saw her. Saw the gown bag hanging lopsided on the porch railing. The ribbon still tied around the hanger like it hadn't been abandoned 2 days ago. Saw the wheels of her chair angled just off the pavement like she tried to go inside and changed her mind. Saw her hands trembling around a piece of paper she kept folding and unfolding over and over like maybe she could erase what was written if she just kept moving. He paused at the curb, one foot on the grass, one still in the street. He didn't say anything. She looked up, startled, swiped at her face like shame could make her invisible. He stayed where he was, shifting the box in his arms like it might offer cover. I'm fine, she said. The words cracked on the way out. He didn't nod. Didn't offer some polished line about how things get better. He just looked at the wheels beneath her. The gravel scraped raw near the front step, the sharp slope leading to the door. No ramp, he said. She blinked. Was supposed to be. He set the box down and stepped forward. The silence between them stretched. I build things, he said. You need one? She hesitated. Her voice came smaller this time. You always stopped for strangers crying on their driveway? He looked at her for a long second, then down at the ground, then back. Only when they're sitting where hope used to be. Then he turned, walked back to the truck, and pulled out a measuring tape. The slope from the driveway to the front door wasn't long, but it might as well have been a mountain. Cracked concrete gave way to 3 uneven steps, one with a rust stain that bled like something had tried to rot through. Maya sat at the base of it, staring up like she was trying to solve a puzzle that didn't want to be solved. Her wheels couldn't climb. Her arms weren't strong enough yet. And her pride, had already taken too many hits to ask for help again. Ben stood a few feet back, holding the tape measure like it was a peace offering he wasn't sure she'd take. He'd just finished getting the dimensions. He hadn't asked. He just started measuring the slope and the width between the doorframe like it was obvious, like it was the kind of thing a person should just do when someone's stuck outside their own life. You really don't have a ramp? He said, voice low but certain. She didn't look at him. It was supposed to be done last week. He waited. She didn't explain. Fiancé, he asked, careful. She finally looked up, jaw clenched. He was working on it. Said he'd finish after the bachelor weekend. She paused, swallowed hard. He hasn't been back since Monday. Ben said nothing. Let the silence fill in what she didn't want to say out loud. She was stranded, alone, left behind, not just by her body, but by someone who'd made her promises under soft lights and expensive champagne. He crouched down by the lowest step, ran a thumb along a splintering edge of wood where someone had half installed a railing and never finished. He stood slowly, dusting his hands off on his jeans. "I can build it," he said simply. "Won't take long. Materials will run cheap. I've got most of what I need in the truck." Maya blinked at him like she wasn't sure he was real. "I don't have money for that." "I didn't ask for money." Her mouth pulled tight. "Look, I don't need pity. I don't need some guy trying to fix my life because he thinks a ramp makes up for a wheelchair." Ben's gaze stayed even, steady. "This isn't about pity," he said. "It's about the fact that it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and you shouldn't have to pray your arms hold long enough to drag yourself up 3 steps. She looked away, but her breath caught in her chest, like she'd forgotten how to inhale without breaking. "I'm fine," she muttered. "Then let me help anyway." He didn't move, didn't pressure, just waited. Something in her shoulders gave in. Not collapsed, not shattered, just softened. She exhaled slowly and nodded once. "All right," she said, "but I'm holding the damn nails." The lumber arrived in the back of Ben's truck, sun-bleached boards, a bucket of rusted nails, and a heavy, silent kind of purpose. He didn't knock on her door, didn't ask if she still wanted the help. He just started unloading, boots crunching on gravel, arms full of wood that thudded gently as he laid each piece down beside the front steps. Maya watched from the porch, wrapped in an old cardigan that didn't fit right anymore. Her hands rested in her lap, fingers still swollen from where the chair handles rubbed them raw 2 days back. She didn't say much, just nodded when he looked up, then looked away when he didn't smile. They worked in silence, not the awkward kind, but the kind that holds room for too much. Ben's hammer fell in rhythm, measure, mark, strike. He didn't hum, didn't curse, didn't fill the air with the kind of noise most men do when they're trying to make themselves bigger than the job. He just worked steady and quiet, like the act of building something useful was the only language he still trusted. Maya flinched once when a board cracked wrong. The sound ricocheted against the porch rail, sharp and final. She didn't ask if it was fixable. He didn't explain. He just grabbed another. In the truck, a small figure shifted, bare feet drawn up on the passenger seat, a paperback held like a shield just beneath her eyes. "Ellie." She watched Maya with the cautious curiosity only a child could carry, half wonder, half worry. Every few minutes she flipped the page, even when it was clear she wasn't reading. The book was just something to hide behind. At one point, Maya turned and caught her, just a glance. Ellie ducked lower. Ben followed her gaze, but didn't say anything. He didn't introduce his daughter, didn't offer a reason why she was here on a hot weekday afternoon with no school in sight and a library book 3 levels above her age. He just kept sawing. "I thought kids hated quiet," Maya said softly. Ben paused, looked at her. "She's used to it," he said. "Been a lot of quiet lately." Maya nodded. The kind of nod that said she understood more than she wanted to admit. The sun dropped low behind the house. The ramp started to take shape, angle set, frame steady. It wasn't pretty yet, but it was coming together, like maybe the silence between them wasn't just emptiness. Maybe it was permission. Stay tuned to Hope Stories. Will this unlikely bond turn into something more? The note was folded too neatly. No envelope, just her name, Maya, scrolled across the front in handwriting she'd once traced along the curve of his spine at midnight. She found it in the mailbox, tucked between a furniture catalog and a coupon for something she didn't need anymore. The morning was hot already. Sweat clung to her back beneath the tank top she hadn't had the heart to change out of in 2 days. Her fingers hesitated, hovered over the paper like it might bite. She unfolded it slowly. 6 lines, that's all. "I'm sorry. I can't do this. I thought I could. I love you, but not enough to do it like this. I need space. I hope one day you understand. Jay." Her name wasn't even in the goodbye. She stared at the words until they blurred, until the paper curled in her hands and the morning sun burned too hot on her skin. Her throat closed, not with tears, not right away, just a pressure, deep, sharp, like her ribs had forgotten how to expand. The wheels of her chair bumped against the front step as she turned hard. She didn't call for help. Didn't care that the ramp frame was still half done, raw boards and stubborn nails waiting for their purpose. She dropped the note in her lap and shoved the wheels forward fast and clumsy. The porch rail caught her elbow. She hissed but didn't stop. She made it to the edge of the driveway before the sob broke loose. Not delicate, not cinematic, just raw, loud, ugly, the kind of sound that echoed against concrete and clung to the morning like humidity. Ben had been around the side of the house, hammering something into place with slow precision. He heard it, dropped the hammer without thinking. When he came around the corner, he didn't ask what was wrong. He saw the note, saw her shaking hands, saw the way her whole body hunched like grief had settled into her spine. He didn't say he was sorry, didn't offer cliches or try to explain what no one could explain. Instead, he walked to the pile of tools, picked up a screwdriver, and held it out to her. She looked at him, eyes red and glassy. He didn't flinch. "You can still build something," he said. Then he placed the tool gently on her lap and walked back to the frame, slow, steady, waiting for her to follow. The screw slipped twice before it caught. Maya's hand shook harder than she wanted it to, wrist trembling like it didn't belong to her anymore. The drill felt heavier than she remembered, like grief added weight to everything, even plastic and steel. Ben stood a few feet away, crouched low, leveling the next board. He didn't say a word, didn't correct her grip, didn't reach out when the screw spun sideways and scraped the wood. Just waited, quiet and still, like the only thing he needed to hold up right now was space. She repositioned, took a breath that caught halfway down her throat. Pressed harder this time. The screw bit into the board with a slow aching whine. Click, click. Drive. It went in crooked. Her face flushed. Not from the heat. Not just. She sat back, wiping her forehead with the back of her arm, swallowing the frustration that threatened to rise up like a wave. This wasn't what she wanted to be doing. She wanted to be in a dance studio, barefoot and balanced, not on a porch in the middle of a summer she didn't ask for, trying to drive screws into which she didn't even believe would hold. "I can fix it," she muttered, reaching to back it out. Ben looked over, eyes steady beneath the brim of his hat. "It's fine," he said. "It's in. But it's crooked. So are half the boards on this house." She let out a breath that was almost a laugh and almost a sob. Somewhere in the middle. He went back to work, hands moving with practiced ease, his hammer striking with a rhythm that calmed more than it startled. The air between them wasn't soft. Not yet. It still crackled with the things they weren't saying. Loss and failure, and the sharp ache of starting over. But there was something else in it now, too, something that lived in the grain of the wood and the steadiness of motion, in the sound of tools, in the smell of sawdust. He didn't offer praise, didn't comment on the screw, but when he passed her another one, he did it without hesitation, like he expected her to keep going, like he knew she would. The morning sun had just started to push through the slats of the porch rail, catching the fresh wood of the ramp like it was proud of what had begun. Maya sat at the top, a blanket across her lap, coffee cooling beside her, her hands still ached from yesterday, the pads of her fingers tender where the drill had bitten too hard, too long. But she didn't mind the ache. It was proof she hadn't disappeared. She heard the truck door open before she saw her. Ellie hopped out barefoot, holding something flat and curled at the edges, paper that had been folded and folded again, its creases soft and worn. She hesitated at the bottom step, then climbed 2 stairs before stopping, arms clutched tight to her chest. "I made you something," she said, voice small but clear. Maya blinked. "For me?" Ellie nodded and held it out, arms stretching across the space between them. Maya leaned forward and took the drawing carefully as if it might crumble. It was done in crayon, vivid and chaotic stick figures under a sky too big for the paper. Flowers that didn't match and didn't need to. But in the center was a woman in a wheelchair, crown on her head, dress that trailed like fire, red, gold, blue. "You look like a queen with wheels," Ellie said softly. Maya stared at the drawing and then unexpected, sudden real. She laughed. It wasn't delicate. It wasn't polite. It came from the gut, surprised her as much as it surprised Ellie. It sounded rusty, like something that hadn't been used in a while, but still worked. The kind of laugh that caught in your throat and cracked something open. Ellie grinned. I wasn't sure if I should draw the wheels, but I thought maybe you wouldn't want to pretend they're not there. Maya's eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. Not this time.